Chip say anything about not coming, or I think that if you look at that. Thank you all for showing up. I think at our last meeting, we had instructed me to ask a series of questions to our attorney to determine specifically what changes, if any, that we could make within the use of the TIF funding. Based on those questions, I provided you email that was shared with me. My review of that indicates that essentially we can make a lot of changes that would be beneficial for our use of the funding moving forward. So I think that what I would like to accomplish tonight would be to, if we have to narrow down what we're going to use that funding for, if there's consensus to do that, or are we going to keep everything that's within the questions that I asked relevant as we move through the process. So I think that would be my first issue with the college to keep it all together. I think we had, we were initially looking at being able to use the funding for the fire station. That seemed to be something that was high on the priority. It appears that we can do that. And also include within that perhaps fire gear, other things that we need. I think that spoke about fire gear and radios that are something else that they need to follow such. It looks like that is a reality there. It also appears to me that that we can use it for fire trucks, financing, those types of things. We can also use it to purchase the ambulance, as was referenced. And then there's a certain question I have. It appears to me with my question 3 that I asked about the recreation trail expansions upgrades, you're under the impression that that's already there. So we can use that for those types of things. If I read this correctly, you guys come up with the thought process.
When you say that, you mean already in the
the chip that we already got.
Right.
Included stuff.
Yeah, that is in there, yeah.
That's what I thought. So answering question 4 is a little more difficult for me this evening, but it was that Amanda Medbot has left the employment of Burnsville Shore, and Bill Saucier will now be the head. Attorney that will be doing it, as he indicated to me earlier this week, that he can be doing it. And, because I asked him, let me just back up, at the last selectmen's meeting, the board asked me to reach out and begin the process of paperwork gathering. What has to come first is the DECB's approval or the legislative body here in town and get the approval to make the change. So he's working on that and back to me answer those questions. I hope that we'd like to expedite our discussion on this to the point where we're hoping that we'll be ready for our annual meeting. That's the way I love that, so. Let's see what he comes up with. Yes, Jen?
Looking at a new fire station. Thought from the 20-year now. With whatever population. Here in the town. There's this town needing one fire station. Hopefully, the cost of the second station. Second station matters. Been there.
Right, I think I can answer that to a certain degree. Presently, I think the fire service, Jason would add, is, has got, staffing issues statewide in order to find a lot of qualified people to be involved in the fire department, so on and so forth. They're just not out there, and I think what's happening now in our jurisdiction is that we're trying to create people beyond mutual aid agreements, create more of a intimate relationship with our partners around us, so that we have staffing that show up to fires or large accidents, and so on and so forth. So, to answer your question, we will not need another station. I think there are enough stations around us that we staff that would be able to use their services as one of our.
Right. And assuming one station. And what is it going to look like? There will be fire. You add or all of the or one year. You didn't plan that you're going to pay a lot. You were just there. One of the things I want to consider is bringing down an architect to early on to drop out that facility would look like, and whether you have.
I don't think we're there yet, Jack. I mean, those are great things that we can talk about, but I don't think it's more difficult to sort of make those decisions. I think what we really need to focus on is whether or not we're going to give this information or get approvals at any time to even consider these for the building.
Yeah, we want that done.
Right.
There's a whole process. Try to work. Sure. And yeah. Maybe you could just review what you want, or what is an aspect from this group that you're looking for, so that we will look at the file I get to the state.
I think what I believe from our meetings was that our largest priority was to be able to utilize the funds moving forward to construct or to modify the existing fire station. And then through our budget process, with the budget for the board's select board, we discovered that ambulance purchase is something that we're going to keep almost immediately, as being proposed by the department. It's just being purchased 10 years old. The price of the trucks are going up extremely quickly. And that right now we sort of lock ourselves into a unit in a price that may fluctuate based on chassis designs and chassis availability. But we think it's going to be a $350,000 mark. Right now, we have $500,000 that's in that reserve, so we can actually go out and purchase that truck immediately. That would take care of the one thing, and then we can focus on.
In a TIF reserve, in the existing TIF reserve.
When's the next town meeting that we have to vote on this stuff?
The next meeting will be June
13.
13, 14.
So you really just want us to come up with a couple of questions to ask the town if they'll approve,
Not
right?
necessarily, I want everybody here to say to us tonight that, yeah, fire station, ambulance, our priorities, let's move through those. And is there anything else that we need to modify within the typical tools we have? Capture anything else that you think is necessary moving forward? Could be years from now, but
Why don't we put the typical for the back ones with the $500,000?
It's in the TIF reserve. It's in the TIF reserve.
Oh, thank God.
Did your budget this year include the ambulance? What we discussed the other
It
day?
included $50,000 based on the assumption that you could finance it.
So is it your understanding from Amanda and or Phil that we have to identify the projects? We can't just use broad terms to say we're gonna use it for public facilities or what do we say, public safety facilities or public safety equipment so that we have.
right, I think the question, was like, let's say for I think the broad question that he's put in public safety, building, public safety, equipment, infrastructure, to the extent that's what he was broadly.
Right, I just want to know what, the DECD application that Jack did last time. We had numbers and that we had to supply and everything. And identify projects specifically like the sewer line. And if we're gonna have to do that, I don't know what the application looks like, so.
He did not
Yeah.
allude that was something that we would have to do, right off, so.
Maybe we just went above and beyond the last time. I don't know if it was.
I don't know, but the letter from the commissioner here, I mean, identified everything, approved it, and some of it didn't get approved. I told us we have to be cautious about what we were doing and stuff.
I wonder if that's a process to create a TIF, like to initiate the creation of a TIF.
This is the application.
Yeah, as opposed to modify.
Oh, no, I don't think they have any difference.
No.
No, standards would be the same,
I
whatever.
think the standard is the same.
Uh.
I didn't get to feel like that.
So let's push fast forward. Well, this group only makes a recommendation to the selectmen, right? That's actually how the selectmen can use this group as support for backup, when they make their recommendation, but basically what we're saying is, we'd like to use this money in support of, fire and safety equipment. And then worded appropriately.
Yeah, and we got the environmental issues, the trails and environmental issues that we talked about last time too, I think, but said I've never seen the application, so I don't know how specific you gotta get and whether you can just say we're gonna use it for these broad categories here, Commissioner. Is that okay?
You can see it in the law.
I just said, I just looked at the response to our application and it was, there's numbers here, it's 722,000 for. I mean, I don't know where that came from.
Right, I don't know the numbers taken.
I don't either, I mean. We did have like 7 million in the sewer.
Town manager at the time just pulled them out of thin air.
I can do that. No, they were collected from various sources. So, and we got the application then.
Yeah, got
And we
approved.
needed the sewer line, and it worked.
Yeah.
Until
Until it didn't.
it did, right? I mean, the group was already, I think, we've already said to each other, let's support, you know, something in the area of fire and safety.
Yep.
I mean, I think we've all agreed to that to different degrees of enthusiasm, but I think we all agree.
And those items are pretty much gonna take care of a majority of those funds.
That's right.
Right, between the fire station, the equipment, the ambulance. Over the course of the expected 3 point whatever million it was.
Yeah, I
thought
think
we were
what
gonna get.
it is, I put this in quick math, we can walk back and the set based on the percentages that they have here. We're probably looking at $2 million for that we can afford by utilizing the TIF on the next 17 years to pay off any bond. That we can do that. We can set it here at $2 million ticket price. So, and we will go, that's even good, like we did with the sewer, until we grind into the nitty gritty. Look at the cost of buildings.
Right, but we don't, again, in my mind, we don't need a $2 million fire station expansion.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Can we make the?
We
can make
spent
the-
$3 million here, and, you know, to me, we don't need a Taj Mahal, we need something good, but, you know, what are we looking to do? Are we looking to just put some bays and then make some modifications in the existing building? But to go out there and spend, to me, $3 million on a fire station,
But
no way, or $2 million.
But you gotta start with the whole process that we did with the building. This building, you know,
Yep.
research and dig, and, you know, it's not a 5-minute job, you know that. Whether it's a fire station or a down office.
Well, even to add to that, we may even find that as we begin that process, now we ahead of myself. Begin that process, we may find that the TIF money may take care of a portion of that payment, but it may not take care of it all. We may have to ask the tax credit. Whatever bond may be. But that's a discussion in itself.
So let's get the TIF written up so that we can, you know, cover, as Jack has stated, you know, cover, you know, fire and safety issues, what have you. That way, to me, that covers building, equipment, and if we
Ambulance.
add the ambulance, that specifically, we
Makes
add
the
the-
building is way too expensive, and we just have to buy
Yeah.
equipment instead.
But if you're looking for something to dig in town meeting, you know, that seems to be what everybody is focused on, and
Yeah.
you stand behind and say, look, you know, we'll got some support, that's we can go with it. You know,
Is the recreational trails already in the?
Not that I see.
I thought it is in the first one, isn't it? The recreational trails, isn't that what you said?
I don't see
Isn't the
anything.
approved one already?
Got sidewalks, construction on Route 1, sewer, sanitary sewer,
Because I don't
revolving
think,
loan.
I think we should include that as well, because we
I
never
think
know.
so.
I'm just thinking
I
like, you
think
know,
I'd
we
include
only-
everything.
we only have the
Take
Eastern
it out.
Trail here,
Agreed.
and we have land by, I mean, as much as, you know, we don't see it, there is land by the dump. You could always make a recreational area there. I mean, look at the old,
And we got a new piece over by, on Curtis Road too, Joan was saying,
okay.
someone was gonna donate a bunch of land over there.
Okay.
And I still think that question 3, to use it for, talking about recreation trails or for water issues, especially with the Kennebunk River
Yeah,
project that's coming up.
Yeah,
I'd like to make sure that that's in there.
Yeah,
that's
We
in
have-
there.
Definitely, yeah,
We can.
Right.
so we have.
yeah,
So we want to include questions 1 through 4.
yeah, there you go.
That's what we wanna do.
And councilman tells we can't do it, but
Yeah.
I just like to, you know, rather than have to go back and do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Throw the kitchen sink at it.
Exactly.
And it did say that it can be pretty broad, right? Isn't that what Amanda said again, that it can be pretty
Yes.
broad?
I think that was the encouraging thing that I had.
Right.
After I was just going to food fraud.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the,
I mean, you know, you never know, you could do, I don't know, community gardens or something over by the transfer station, or do something, you never know what would be available to the public. Cause I think the more community, you know, the more community places you have for recreation in town,
Yeah,
I think the
I agree.
better, you know.
So what's the process? If we decide we want questions 1 through 4, we've got to write this up, send this in to the state.
That's what the attorney's gonna.
Right.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
And, no, I was hoping that he knew that, but he didn't, so.
Do you think we can put these into like 2 questions? Because are we gonna ask these questions to the town, or am I wrong about that?
I think what happens is you're just going to rewrite the TIF. And then the people would adopt
TIF
the
itself.
amended TIF as, you know, the TIF as amended, as a complete
Okay.
document, yeah. And then you
As
could stand
As
up and
approved
complain.
by the,
As approved by the state, yeah.
We never asked that, we did what people, modifying, you know,
Right.
the middle section of the, it was either accepted
Yeah.
as a package or
Yes.
not.
Right.
But we had to, kind of
Because,
say you can't just take line 8, 9, and 10 and change it.
right, because then you don't know if the state would
Right,
accept it that
right,
way,
yeah.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Here's the document, yes.
right. So we have to have a public hearing too prior to this, or imagine? Or the-
Hey, you know, as I said, I think it was Roger Gay. Something we discussed with the budget is the importance of trying to get some funding for the answers. We may not accomplish that, it should be because they take part with it. But we may be able to request the funding in the TIF, also have a warrant article that requests funding by the taxpayer, and then if we get the funding here, we'll perhaps make a modification to the money that was spent. That was my thought. We don't need this, that's what you do, what you may have, be a bill.
So you'd have to ask for the money and then explain that,
We may.
more than likely, we could eradicate the money with the TIF.
The loan that we pull out for it, right?
I think that way we can push it. Because the TIF stuff. Then. We can make sure that things get written correctly and all that kind of stuff.
If we go that route, Keith, do we still need to get the TIF approved or we buy the ambulance, or we have the option of buying the ambulance with a loan and
I
paying
think
off?
we just have a straight warrant out. Once funding for the period,
Then you can buy it.
then move on.
Then you buy it. Well,
And then
that's,
if you get the TIF fund,
that's my question. You're okay doing that and then pay off that?
well, I'm okay with doing it. But I'm not gonna fix it.
Well, I mean,
The thing is, though, then if the TIF doesn't get approved, then you
Then
would
you're
have to
not-
finance it
And you're on for all of it.
for 50, well, you would have to finance it then over a 5-year period.
Yeah.
And at least have the 50 in the budget.
Yeah, there's a risk with the
Yeah.
taxpayer. Taxpayer
right.
is, we've got to understand that if I had ambulance operating pretty much.
Yeah.
And then they, this faith and trust, you know, that the statement that will be made that the TIF will be used, you know, when it's approved, to reimburse that cost. That they realize the risk, you know, if you're involved.
Yeah, but the way you take it to the taxpayers is, look, gotta have this ambulance one way or the other. We're working on paying for it with the TIF money, but it's not long bit. Correct. But one way or the other, we need the ambulance, so.
I think we gotta think about the warrant article, whether we have to get authorization to do that somehow. If we do get the TIF approval and we are able to use it, I think the warrant article is gonna have to address that on some basis.
If we don't address it, then we probably back in special.
We're gonna have to do something, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to just move the money around without getting approval.
Correct.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
But we wanna have the TIF on the warrant. We wanna have, you know,
If you can.
If we get all the paperwork.
Yeah.
Get everything.
because I think that's a key component when we go to the town saying, you know, yeah, you know, you gotta prove this. I think they kind of work hand in hand. right?
If you,
Tom's gotta be a little nervous because it took so long to put the paperwork.
Yeah.
I don't know what we made.
Right,
Well, that's why I've been saying all along, we gotta get moving on this and get it going because we're running out of time,
May have to have a special town meeting to do that.
just for the
But
TIF.
soft
Just
tier,
for the tip,
put it
yeah.
together.
So,
you know, if we can get the TIF approved, we could have alternate warrant articles ready so that one could say, we're gonna buy it ourselves, and that's the other one, and we could pass or table that one, or if in fact the TIF is approved, and then
You're right.
something to think ahead.
I think I'm following your John, you're suggesting that they, well, you guys have worked with this, but the warrant article itself would indicate that there's a possible payback.
Either that, or if we could do that, or as I said, if we got TIF approval in, you know, earlier warrant articles, we got the approval. We could have two warrant articles with respect to the ambulance, funding it from taxpayer dollars, which we would pass over. And move on to one that would say we're gonna use the TIF funds. To,
Okay. That's a great.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
Mhm. But you know, we gotta get the TIF passed first to do that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm sensing that this is the direction that this group is sort of recommending at this point. Use the funding for those types of programs and spending.
We gotta put a fire under Phil.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
He's a very nice guy. He'll help everything he can. I've worked with him.
I'm sure it will.
You need anything for
I don't think so, Gavin.
Hmm.
No,
So you're gonna add stuff for the fire station, you're gonna add stuff for trails. And then,
stormwater.
Almost question 1, 2, 3, and 4.
It's just.
Okay,
One environmental.
Okay, so the-
Three, but combine 1 and 2, I think can be combined.
You do like a little bit
Yeah.
Right, right.
right, so there's nothing here for the sewer though, right? I'm not
No.
the sewer, I mean, the Kennebunk,
The river.
Kennebunk River. Same thing. But there's nothing in here for that, right? I think we'd want to add, it. We don't have any money to use it, we don't have any money to use it, but I think we should
Dan,
have
it says,
something.
it does say it there. It does say it there
Yeah, in your last.
on page, question number 3. At the end.
Three.
Right?
Oh, I saw the first
Yeah,
time
I must
I
have
asked.
skipped it.
Next page.
Right.
It's right there, see,
Yeah, so in this is one.
Kennebunk River Restoration.
Oh, okay, you just mentioned it both ways.
No, this is the letter from
Question number 3, right here, it says at the top, the Kennebunk River restoration would be allowable if it's part of the environmental improvement project.
So once once the town.
Probably need to provide
Is there a deadline
documentation.
for the town to spend the funds? There was no date where you had to.
No.
Yeah, just election of the fund and
24.
Yeah.
22.
I think.
So here's a question. I'd love to get together. There's probably no reason for this to get together.
I don't think so.
Question's been answered. We just have to work for it.
Hopefully, people will show up at our hearing. You know, us as a support to the cost. I mean, that's typical and show at a town meeting, you know. Well, you know, show up.
And what I would prefer is to keep the committee tagged. So we can get it all. And then have a chance to look at it.
Yeah, we would meet one more time once you get it back from a lawyer.
Probably should be opposed so that we can indicate, you know, as we do with the budget board, we get approval of.
There'll be some process.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't want to tell you to go away.
No, we don't need to meet to discuss about the.
No,
No.
we're all
I
gonna
mean,
Yeah.
done that, so the next time we meet, we have.
Yes. Well, first of all. This election is not gubernatorial election.
In June, typically, when you don't have a state election, you get about a 500 and something turnout. 500 to 600 people at the most. But as far as on the Tuesday vote, on town meeting vote, I think if we get 50 to 70 something
75.
people.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah, baseball season and all that. You don't, yeah, you know, the biggest thing is if the selectmen support something and the people who work on it, like the budget board support it, usually people will go with that, you know, unless you have a very, you know, specific reason to not approve something, usually they'll go by the board and, you know, like if there's a budget board recommendation, if the budget board recommended one thing and the selectmen recommended something else, then people are leery about that, but if it's together, they usually figure you've looked at it.
I mean, you follow that on the fact that the selectmen reached out to the community. Reached out to people, they have what?
Yeah.
You emphasize that there was a citizen, you know, process. The other side just didn't, you know, go on Friday night and make sure they understand that. You know, this is part of the collection of people.
But to John's point too, Jack, you know, telling people that this isn't gonna impact their taxes.
Yeah.
Right, so
That's a
Yeah.
pretty big selling point, I know, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big selling point that if you say, geez, we're gonna be able to get a new ambulance. And we're gonna be able to expand the fire station and it's not gonna cost you anything.
It might even be worth showing like the impact on the mill rate that each would cause.
Yeah.
You know, like a $2 million renovation on the fire department would cost.
Yeah.
55 cents in the mill rate, a $500,000 fire truck would cost.
Yeah.
Funny part is how do you communicate all that? When
I mean,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a town meeting,
yeah,
open town meeting.
no,
Yeah.
you practice it, I don't care.
you could do a little newsletter if you wanted to, but.
Yeah, I mean, you can newsletter, put it in the Arrow, social media, the post, you know, kind of like what we've done. On everything else, you know, I think when we did this building, we communicated quite a bit and we just do the same thing.
Well, I think Jack's point is that we're gonna get on it if we're gonna do that, because we've got a couple of months.
Right, but we got nothing now. We have nothing, so we can't communicate anything with the state with now because we don't have anything back from the state that says, yes, you can do this.
Yeah, I think the point that Jack's making is that he knows damn well what needs to be done. I think he's trying to get it across to us that we better be prepared and move back on it. Exactly.
You know, I know we don't have a full-time planner anymore, but does the planner have did he have any suggestions or input on to the tip as far as for any recommendations for the tip? With that, or not?
Not necessarily, I recall correctly, we were going to reach out to them at one point. Decided to hold off, allow them to do it. As opposed to having, you know, how it is, you have outsiders making recommendations. it
Yeah.
doesn't go well. I prefer to have a group of citizens who hack it out and think it's the right way to go, and sort of guide them as best we can.
I think one thing that might make this a little tougher sell than normal is that if you go to the voters with a specific project in mind, you say, this is the addition that we want to put on the fire station. And we fall apart with an X number of dollars. I think if anything gives us trouble here, it will be that we're going to the voters and saying, we'd like to make these movements to the fire station. First thing somebody's gonna ask is, well, you're planning on spending $25 or?
No, but we'll go back. Once we figure everything out, we'll go back to the voters and say, look, this is what we want to spend out of that TIF.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to the
Like,
voters.
I understand that, Dan, but what I'm saying, you still need to get the voter approval at this June meeting. spend the tip money on this type of thing. And I'm just saying that I think it might be a little bit of a tough sell. And we don't have anything very specific about what we want to do. It's all very vague.
No, John, I think we're gonna come with these are possibilities. We're not committing to doing anything.
Yeah.
The next step would be the commitment.
Yeah.
So I'm not committing to do it. I just want to get categories that we can spend this money under these umbrellas, whatever they might be. That's all. We're
Yeah.
gonna come back to you voters. We decide what's the best way to do it.
I agree with you, but I'm saying that might be a tough sell. If I'm
Well, okay.
the old skeptical voter, I'll think, hey, that all sounds pretty good, Tom, but seriously, what am I looking at here? How's this?
Can't tell them, I don't know.
Explain to people, this is a preliminary approval. In order for them, for you to even think about the specifics, you need a support of the document that allows you to dig in and find the answers to this question and do the research and get, and you're gonna go back, we're gonna go back to you with any details.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did we get, when we did the first one, did we get any push, I don't recall any pushback at all about the sewer district on Route 1, because that was in the tip. We didn't get any pushback at all
I
whatsoever.
don't think on anything.
I don't
There was
know.
nothing at all, there was
A
nothing.
couple residents stood up. I want to say Bob Cook stood up and made a comment about
You know, why are they getting
something.
something?
Like, why are we doing sidewalks on Route 1, streetlights on Route 1?
Right.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, yeah, why are we favoring Route 1 businesses
Yeah.
as opposed to other business areas and stuff? But I think the biggest thing is if we approach it as the fact that we're making the changes to the tip because the sewer district, the sewer was not feasible, that we're putting this towards other things that will need improvements, like the trails and the fire station. But I mean, if anybody questions the fact of the construction, I would say you can't build a residential home or buy anything for under 200 something thousand, you know, like a commercial building. I'm sure it's close to $1 million without even putting anything into it. I'm sure you see that as far as.
But there are no numbers, there are no numbers coming up yet. The
Michael could
numbers,
speak to that.
the numbers won't run up.
Isn't it just something, aren't we
Yeah.
just like gonna ask the town something like, do you support
What?
us using the TIF funds
For
to,
these.
for the improvement of public safety buildings and recreational trails? Done, right?
Yeah.
And it will not impact
Right.
Tax.
your taxes. That's it, right? Something like, yes, you should get support for
Right
that.
now, I think so.
Yeah, it's not affecting you.
And before, when they say, well, how much is this gonna cost? We haven't gotten there yet. We don't know. And before we can spend a penny of that, we have to come back, we have to come back to you for your approval.
And at the same time, that if we do have to do any projects, this will come out of TIF money and not out of your regular
Tax
tax
dollars, yeah.
you know, so, yeah.
Yeah, I think we got it.
All right, I think you do now too. I'm happy that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's saying, we got it.
Yeah.
Just get it filled out.
Yeah.
The only true definitive one that we could speak of would be
The ambulance.
Right.
we have a number for that.
Right. We have a concrete number, if we have money, we didn't conserve, the allocate.
Yeah.
So that's it. We just need to prove it, do it.
Yeah.
All set?
Hmm.
You wanna put it on the newsletter? Sunday?
I think once we get the stuff back from the state, I think it's premature at this point right now. We need to get back from the state that says, yeah, okay, and then at that point, and then it'll go on the warrant. Once we get it back from the state, we put it on the warrant.
How long will that take?
Hopefully, it'll take long, but
One, thinking of time, it's 4 days before, town meeting, those things will use that.
well, it won't be on the warrant. Right, so if it comes within a time frame that we can put on the warrant, then at that point we will. If not, then we'll do a special town meeting. You know, later on this summer.
I'd be happy to do a newsletter if we have the right time. To do it.
I already mentioned.
I think we're pushing it as it is to get the state to
Yeah.
respond to this within 2 months.
Yeah.
I think it's almost impossible, to be honest with you, but we'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you ought to, if you're doing it, I think it should probably be in combination with the rest of the warrant too, I think all together, you know. Not just on the tip. You know, maybe do the whole thing.
Oh. We're due for an arrow here pretty soon, aren't we?
When was the last one?
That's why I said we're due for an arrow.
I'll help, I can help with it too if you need it.
Yeah.
Residents like the arrow.
Yes,
And a lot of people that like the arrow.
yes.
Oh, gosh.
Probably good to change the name of the newspaper.
Yes, I know, I thought of that for a while. Change it.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are they?
I don't know, well, it's part of the, can you go?
It's the Rams.
So they have a different, they have,
Kept it in the.
I think they use a different. one in school. School is different mascot, or is it the Rams? Is it a
Who's gonna
different-
run the linear?
Right, yes, they
Yeah.
have sports there, though, do they? No, it's all rec under that, okay. It's just they run rec,
We had to pull that over.
I wasn't very good though. It's all right.
We had to pull that over. Chip wouldn't, it was like a, and somebody had done it.
Oh.